Welcome to Bold Talk series where creativity, leadership, ideas, innovation come together. My name is Ludvik, and today I have a privilege to have a short one-on-one conversation with Shamini Dhana, founder and CEO at Dhana Inc. Shamini, great seeing you, my friend, and welcome to a Bold Talk series. How are you?
I am good, Epi. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I'm looking forward to this.
Great seeing you. This is really exciting. First thing, before we get to some questions here, big congrats for taking home two awards from our fifth edition at Bold Awards, which was last time, on a sustainability and a fashion tech. So that was really exciting.
Yeah, that was an epic, monumental feat. Definitely a big surprise, but full acknowledgement, and couldn't have done it without the whole team, I must say.
Well, that's great. So, Shamini, for people who are not aware of Donna Inc., give us first, tell us about the inspiration behind Donna and what motivated you to start the company.
Great question, Epi. So, thank you for that. A lot of people ask this question in terms of why we started Dana Inc. or why I started it almost 16 years ago. It was 2008. And believe it or not, it is about uniting humanity through fashion. That has always been our vision. We stand behind and we speak up for unity in this industry, which those of you who may know is one that has a lot of divide, disparity, poverty, and flooded with a lot of issues. And so for us, Dana actually means it translates into the significance of an offering. We're offering a new way to actually look at the industry, the people behind it, and also the planet that is involved. So it's a very holistic way, and this is what this offering is about. Our mission is about empowering our consumers, our customers, to actually connect to people and planet through the medium of fashion. Now, I say the medium of fashion because when we connect to people, we always do that every day using words. We connect because we're around meals. We all have different mediums of connecting. And if you look at all the common denominators in the world, we all need food, shelter, currency, right? But we all wear clothes. And so it is a common denominator. And so that is the medium that we're talking about, which is our mission. Connect to people and planet through the medium of fashion. And so this is really the reason why we exist, because there are these issues that I saw in the world of fashion and apparel that were not being addressed. And into doing so in a very holistic approach, we decided as a team to start a brand that embodied these systems, values, and the way of actually being. I hope that helps.
Yeah, well, I think that was something I came across a documentary. I think you shared that with me a while back, and so um, how big of a deal is this the world where the pollution and the destroying the planet basically, we think like mostly it's like a plastic and a few other, but when you think about fashion industry, is it ranks on top, right? So is that what problem specifically are you solving with Donna, and how are you different from other platforms if there's any out there?
Yeah, yeah, great question. Thank you for bringing up that particular documentary. And that documentary is
What was the
called The
name of
True
that?
Cost. It's called
True
The
Cost.
True Cost of
Okay, yeah,
Fashion. Yeah,
yeah,
The True
yeah.
Cost movie. It was released about 2 years after the disaster in Bangladesh. And it really shed the light on what the cost was on a human level as well as the planetary environmental level behind the clothes we wear. And that really is the genesis of the movie, based on, storytelling of garment workers and the hands and the hearts behind the clothes. Um, as an associate producer of that movie, I have now gone on to use the movie in education, bringing awareness all across the globe, because a lot of people really don't realize the impact they have, as a whole. But the true motivation, Epi, in terms of our problem that we're solving, if you look at the processes and the product and actually the promotion of clothing and apparel, it's embedded in this system whereby we have the lack of transparency, accountability, and also a huge amount of greenwashing going on, right? And so something has to give. And with the internet, there has been more and more content, real life issues being shared. And so the problem is, can we solve some of these things with a brand that is considered a lot more ethical, a lot more sustainable? When you talk about the word sustainable, we're talking about doing incremental work to benefit the people and the planet, right? And can we then use technology to solve some of these problems, which are great issues, to have solutions so that it will then advance humanity as such. The other huge challenge we have is the amount of waste in the industry that is found every day. It's a known figure now, at least in fashion professionals. The data that everyone quotes, besides being the second most polluting industry in the world, is that it is one that for every second a garbage truck full of clothing goes to the landfill, which is 70% of the 2.5 or $3 trillion industry, right? So we do have a problem. And so what we are trying to do at Dhana, we did start off as a brand for our youth, from 0 to 16 years old for a good decade. But we decided that based on a business model that doesn't actually thrive in this kind of climate, which is very linear, you take waste, you take something, you make it, and then you throw it away. We need to actually transform the industry into more of a circular one, a regenerative one. And so we stopped production after a decade, and now we're totally a fashion technology company, using technology to advance systems, processes, products, and also the ability to promote something more holistically.
Yeah.
And that's where we birthed the D-Sphere platform.
Nice. Now, Shamini, what do you see as the most significant trends happening right now in the world of fashion and sustainability? I know there's been a lot of greenwashing has been used. You mentioned this about as a part of a PR marketing engine, but what are the real trends you see happening right now?
Right. So I would say there are many. Well, and when you use the word trends, Epi, I would say it's an acknowledgement of both an issue and an opportunity. Yeah. There is definitely the trend of moving away from the business model of linear to circular, right, and regenerative. Um, and so that we want to keep something as long as possible in the process before it actually goes to the landfill, right? And if you can design something out of waste and pollution, then that is actually even a better way of looking at a piece of garment. So that's like this actual, it's very systemic. And then if you really dig deep into the issue, here's a $3 trillion industry that has grown super fast in decades, there is a problem of overconsumption, right? Overconsumption, people are using and buying more clothes than ever before. And the word fast fashion, right, has actually promoted this. It used to be where we had 4 seasons a year, and now it's fast fashion, which is let's try and get in as much new apparel and, you know, promote this new sort of trendy thing to the consumer so they start to buy and make them feel bad because they're not keeping up with the trends,
Mm.
right? So there has been like a trend towards um, reducing this overconsumption, right? And also overproducing. Um, there has been a huge effort in terms of slow fashion, more into like the artisans and what we would say customization and personalization. There has been a trend, I would say, also about let's peel away what really is happening in the supply chain so that the consumers now can be part of the equation. The next generation, and this is a trend, want to be part of the solution, right? The solution to what? To overproduction, right? Climate change, and the whole entire being inclusive, being transparent, right? And so there's this need to engage the customer at a level that puts the customer and the consumer as on the same playing field as all the other stakeholders. We cannot discount the fact that the customer, the garment worker, the manufacturer, the brand all have a role to play. And that when we have this level playing field, we're all speaking to each other and we understand each other's role and contribution, that's going to contribute to a more holistic and benefit to the humanity. And so these technologies that are coming out are allowing the accountability, the transparency, the traceability, so that the conversation can be elevated, that people now can speak up, whether garment workers are literally being underpaid, do they have a living wage, how are they being treated, right? These are questions that are fundamental. Since the movie was made back in 2000, almost 10 years ago, past that, till now, the big story is, has there been any positive change,
Yeah.
right? And it's very, very minimal. So there's systemic issues now, and we need technology to actually move the curve, but at the same time, we need regulation. We need legislation. We need policy. So all the different players, including the nonprofits, the unions, are all coming to say, look, this is a huge problem in the industry. We're finally waking up that we're so behind, and let's do something about it.
Yeah.
So there's a huge a lot of issues from the divide between the global north and the global south, the business model, the waste, the pollution, the overconsumption, and the disclosure. So
Yeah.
those are all issues and trends that people are who are actually trying to very much speak to it.
Yeah. Well, I believe there is the level of a transparency. It is not that high today among the corporations, the people sitting at the top, versus the consumer, the participation of the consumer in the process, and so I think in the supply chain, and I think today we truly have amazing technologies, and the question is like, why are we waiting and why we're not moving this thing fast forward? And the only reason that I believe that it makes me realize that why we're not moving fast forward is because it's probably against the current business models, right? So, for example,
Mhm.
fast fashion, they're just like producing clothes and lines of fashions, and here we're talking about the slow fashion. So, how's this going to produce the revenues that they have to bring forward in front of their investors and satisfy the investors? So it's a very interesting time that we
Mhm.
are experiencing right now. And so my question is like, yes, it's innovation is on top of everyone, every leader in the almost every industry, like how they can drive growth through the innovation. But what role do you believe the innovation plays uh, in driving this particular area of the market that you're in, and bring forth the great solutions?
Mm-hmm. Your points you made, Epi, are really critical, right? Um, the you can't unsee what you've seen, especially when you read things in the internet.
Yeah,
And the consumer is getting more and more savvy, right? In terms of getting that data, getting that content. And then the second point I wanted to bring up is there is a trust factor here, right? And that once that trust is broken, it has to be earned back. And for brands in the fashion industry, it's a huge, huge endeavor. And so in comes, the white elephant, which is technology or technology companies. And we see that there is this yearning for brands to like get engaged back into the customer and get into the trust factor. And so the solutions out there is over and above, you know, providing a solution in terms of speed, efficiency, inclusiveness, transparency, you know, um, really seeing the impact in the supply chain for on the people and the planet with technology. What I see really keen in the stakeholders is the collaborative innovation that needs to happen, right? So you can't have things now isolated or siloed into each different stakeholders. There needs to be more collaboration, and this innovation that uses technology, um, and the flow during the journey of the making of an apparel is key. So when you look at how apparel is made, the inputs, right, based on the material, the designer, the customer's standpoint in terms of whether they like something more personalized or customized, what the impact is going to be on and on the environment. That's sort of like a collaboration that needs to come together, not statically, but dynamically,
yeah.
right? And that's, I think, the pinnacle of like the innovation that will need to happen in this industry.
Yeah, maybe
And
probably an innovation in terms of the policies. You mentioned this earlier, right? Um, like when I was watching the movie, it reminds me that when one party is trying to squeeze on the margins, right, it affects everybody, right? And so how can we have a policy where pretty much there's a standard procedure in terms of the margins, like what we're looking for? Because if there's one party does it, it's a chain and affects everybody. And here we go, we are in this wheel. I mean, same thing. Like for example, I remember back in the days, and it wasn't a long time ago. For example, if you charge an interest of over 25%, you were considered a loan shark. And today,
mm,
credit cards are doing,
just that.
and it became a norm. So how can we have a policy that really there are certain lines that should not be crossed across the whole entire line? And I think that's probably type of innovation that we need to see in a policies more than anything else. What do you think?
Well, it's a tough one. Definitely a big challenge, right? In terms of pricing. Um, Fast fashion is known for really cheap clothing.
Yeah,
And so what is that value to a consumer or a customer, right? Now, yeah, if it's going to perform for what the customer wants, and and its function is done, then it's a throwaway culture, because $5 dresses or $10 dresses, I wear it once. I don't care about, then this is what's happening, what is behind it, as long as it serves my needs, right? But if the policy and the regulation suggests, just like cigarettes, this may harm you,
Mhm.
right? Right? If they
Which no one reads
state
it, by
that,
the way.
right? Right? You're about to buy this dress, but we have no idea whether it has actually, served the needs of the garment worker, or if the garment worker was treated well. If that was something out there, right? And then people can say it needs to have certification and things, but we all know in the fashion industry that a dress that is below $10 or a t-shirt that's $5, it's just not sustainable. You
Yeah,
cannot make something like that, right?
yeah.
And so who's kidding who, right? And so is it a policy where we put that as the pricing, or is it more and now the EU has actually stipulated, and it's in law, you can't use certain words anymore on your packaging, right? Eco cannot be used.
Mm.
Um, and natural, and there are a whole stipulation of, and this is part of the greenwashing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not about, pointing shame or making somebody feel guilty. Right? Our value system in Dana Inc. is based on conscious behavior and conscious action, right? If you know that your actions are going to harm somebody else, then why still do it?
Yeah.
You have to have, right? And so I really do believe in education, bringing up the awareness
So that
of the consumers.
collective consciousness that has to happen
Yes.
across.
And it's starting.
Yeah.
It is starting with the next generation. They're demanding more information, more engagement. They want to see the story. They want to be part of the storytelling,
Yeah.
right? And that, I think, is a really good step.
That's great. Now, Shamini, I would love to talk with you forever. This is a great conversation. You're doing amazing work with your company. Um, eh, Obviously, when
You-
you're innovating and doing things differently, trying new things, there's always failure is just around the corner. And so, what is your approach to failure when you try new things, and how do you encourage risk taking? Because with failures, there's a risk involved.
Right. Um, I really believe that when you're about to embark on a new adventure, a new journey in providing a new innovative solution, um, it's clearly important that you understand that, who the target audience is, for sure. Understanding the problem, and to be able to realize whether, um, you are bringing in information and understanding that is on par of what your audience will want. Um, I also say this is, you're when you are in this industry, you should not be, blindsided, but be very aware how the other industries are taking, similar issues, and whether there's convergence of technology, whether there's something that you can be applied to. So you're learning from others. Um, Risk taking, ultimately, you know, you have to go in with your eyes open, right? Um, and I always encourage it, but it has to be where, when you do a risk, you've done your homework, And sometimes you can have the best product and solution, but you're too early for it, right? So testing is really important. And the testing for your target audience is really key with your markets. Sometimes, the pricing could be wrong, right?
Yeah.
So there are lots of issues here, but it's always encouraged. And I would say the last thing is, don't do something because it's a trend, right? Don't get involved in something because somebody else is doing it. You got to have a passion
Yeah.
and persistence really in order to follow this through, because there are many spokes in the wheel here in terms of embarking on something which is extraordinary, going to impact the solution of the people and the planet. And understand, that your sustaining power is there,
Yeah.
right? Because if you don't have that sustaining power and you're one that really does shy away from collaboration or communicating, you can't stay committed to your North Star, right? You have to go deep.
Yeah. I love that. You have to go deep. That's what my mentor tells me all the time. um, Shamini, what does the word bold mean to you?
Oh, Epi, one of my favorite words in the world, bold, right? Um, we, to be bold is to be a person who will follow one's North Star, one's calling for sure. Um, will look at the optimistic side versus pessimistic, that lives life, right? And absolutely is not anyway um, lacking confidence, and is secure enough to speak out and stand up for what one believes in, right?
And with that, it's amazing that we're all on the same page here. It is truly the power, knowing your power, that allows you to once you know who you are and your power, then the rest doesn't really matter much because you are truly walking on a right path.
Correct.
Shamini, always be bold. Congrats for all your successes, and again, congrats for taking the sustainability and fashion tech bold words in the last edition. Thank you for joining me in this bold talk series, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. Until next time,
Thank you,
take
Epi.
care and be great and be bold always.
Thank you, Epi. It was such a pleasure, and I look forward to continuing the journey with you.
Fantastic. Looking forward. Take care.
Thank you.